Hello there. It's now clear from media reports that tomorrow's budget is going to hurt, and hurt us hard. Now, if you haven't already done so, please do subscribe and then like and comment below. Tomorrow's autumn statement from Jeremy Hunt is gonna hit many of us like a runaway train, and it will hit the dreams of many ordinary taxpayers and small businesses who had aspired not to grow, but just to be able to survive the coming year. And the freezing of tax thresholds is going to drag many poorer people into paying tax and many low earners into the next highest tax band. All orchestrated by two multi-millionaire Tories. Those two are already getting flack from all sides, and after tomorrow that flack can only intensify. Especially when people find even worse news in the budget small print. And it must be dawning on their fellow Tory MPs by now that this will ring the death knell over their chances in any upcoming general election. It's almost as if Rishi and Jeremy are on a mission to hand the country over to Labour. But it may be worse than that. It also bears all the hallmarks of them working to drag the UK economy down on purpose in order to try and shoehorn the UK back into the EU. Now, the Bank of England failed to act fast enough to tame inflation, and this pair ends up being parachuted in after deposing Boris Johnson and Liz Truss, and suddenly we're walking into a growth-destroying budget. As many keep pointing out, they could fill any black hole at a stroke by scrapping HS2, but they refuse to do so. And remember, HS2 is an EU-inspired project. It received EU funding and could be used for the movement of military personnel and assets. Back in 2015, Rail UK said, HS2 is part of the proposed core network and one of many rail projects across the EU benefiting from the Connecting Europe scheme. No wonder it's not being scrapped, but rather forced through whatever the people affected think of it. They've also ensured that the country is paying billions a year to house, feed, translate for, provide health services to all those doctors and nurses visiting us via the English Channel. And all the average UK citizen gets is an 11.1% inflation headache and a massive tax bill. All part of building back better towards the Great Reset. But on top of that, according to one shadowy figure that has no democratic mandate but appears everywhere to push his agenda, according to him, we have a multi-crisis of the economic, the political, the social and the ecological and the institutional. Here he is, Klaus Schwab of World Economic Forum fame, who for some reason was given a prime speaking slot at the G20.
Let me just make 4 remarks related to generating growth through innovation. First, of course, if we look at all the challenges, we can speak about a multi-crisis, an economic, a political, a social, an ecological, an institutional crisis. But actually, what we have to confront is a deep, systemic and structural restructuring of our world. And this will take some time.
So he wants a deep, systemic and structural restructuring of our world. And this will take some time, he said. Not this could take some time, but this will take some time, a definite statement. And to get that systemic restructuring would require the whole system to be torn down first. Who voted for him? How come Schwab keeps popping up at these events and being given the opportunity to influence world leaders? And with politicians like Sunak and Hunt in charge of the UK, we seem to be at the forefront of that particular project of his. And there's also that statement by Schwab about this so-called multi-crisis. It must have taken an awful lot of bad luck to end up with an economic crisis, a political crisis, a social crisis, an economic crisis, and an institutional crisis across the whole world simultaneously. Some might even be led to believe that it was somehow engineered. And I've seen nothing in the stuff being leaked to the press about what will be in tomorrow's statement that does anything to promote entrepreneurship and growth in the UK. Except for tax evasion and tax avoidance schemes magicked up by fancy accountants and lawyers who work for the wealthiest people and companies in the country. And they will, no doubt, be identifying and exploiting the inevitable loopholes that were accidentally left in the small print. That will be one big growth industry. The other will be the shadow economy, with more people working below the radar and more crime, something that's now been enlarged by the new arrivals just in time to help it grow further and faster. Now, if previous tax raids are anything to go by, and if the Laffer curve holds true, then despite punishing ordinary taxpayers, the overall tax take will likely diminish. Put all this together with a Tory government that refuses to deal with matters migration, then we could well be looking at the last ever Tory Prime Minister and Chancellor. Now over to Richard, who forgives Matt Hancock.
Thank you, Jeff, and good evening. So, apparently former Health Minister Matt Hancock is after our forgiveness, and I think we should forgive him. But on one condition, and that is he tells the truth about the lockdown and the safety of a certain thing he pushed, which is now causing the death of our young. Matt Hancock, you have one chance. Just tell the truth and admit that shutting down society was wrong, destroying people's businesses, mental health, and splitting families apart was wrong. And highlight the fact that the mandates and the procedure have cost and will cost countless lives. Go on, do it. You shut down the NHS, and that alone cost many lives, but now the excess deaths post-pandemic are higher than they were at the height of the pandemic. So I wonder what has caused that, Mr. Hancock. Could it be something that you pushed on the masses? Time is running out, Matt. And if you want to earn the respect from anyone ever again, then try being honest. Eating a kangaroo's arsehole on reality TV won't get you off the hook. And a day of reckoning is coming, as more and more questions are now being asked, publicly and in Parliament, about the decisions made by yourself and the unfolding catastrophic impact that those plans and decisions had. If Bush-Tucker trials result in the public's forgiveness for wrongdoings, then expect Prince Andrew to be on the next series of I'm a Celebrity, and I would pay money to watch him dress up as a female gorilla sprayed with pheromones and be taken into a cage with a randy male gorilla called Ken. But I, dear viewer, am about to surprise you, because I genuinely and personally forgive Matt Hancock and all of the rest of them, even though they grip my shit, because I am a Christian, a Christian with a potty mouth, and I am commanded to forgive people who do wrong against me. Believe me, I've had to forgive people who have done far worse to me than Matt Hancock and the rest of that Tory government. If you don't want to forgive him, I totally get it. And if I wasn't a Christian, I wouldn't either. But I am, and therefore, even though it goes against my very flesh and worldly instincts, I do forgive him, unconditionally. So I take back the bit about there being condition placed upon his forgiveness, regardless of if he is genuine or not about his desire to be forgiven. I may be disappointing you now by not meeting your anger with my tirade, but look, Matt Hancock is our fault, because we tolerate and legitimise the system that made him Health Secretary every time we pay our taxes and obey the law. Matt Hancock is nothing out of the ordinary. He is just like all the other Westminster pigs with their snouts in the trough that work together to do the will of their masters for their share of the pig swill. It's actually quite sad that they need such approval and are willing to stoop so low to get on in life. The sad fact is, Matt Hancock and all the other non-entities in Westminster and the celebrity non-entities, we elevate them in status. They are our creation, the creation of collective stupidity and apathy that sustains them in their public life. If you don't want to see Matt Hancock on your television sets, don't watch I'm a Celebrity. Turn it off. It's your choice. And if you don't want to see that pack of rats in Westminster sustained by your taxes, then... oh, I can't remember what I was going to suggest there. Anyway, back over to you, Jeff.
Thank you, Richard. And finally, when subscribing, please don't forget to press that little bell and also select the all option, or you won't get any notifications when I publish a new video. And thank you all so much for taking the time to watch the show.